Hello, and welcome to the 2020 Colorado State University Water in the West Symposium. I'm Jocelyn Hittle, Assistant Vice Chancellor for the CSU Spur campus, and I'm pleased to welcome you virtually to this year's event. The Water in the West Symposium, now in its third year, is an early offering of CSU's new Spur campus, which will be fully open in 2022 and is part of the National Western Center redevelopment project. The symposium is intended to begin the work that will live within our Spur Hydro building, a collaborative space on the banks of Denver's South Platte River, which will bring together diverse minds to address water challenges. In 2018, the symposium discussed many of the water challenges we face in the American West. And last year, we talked about solutions to those challenges, sharing examples and lessons from across sectors. This year, our theme is the power of story, and we are bringing together experts on stories and change from various backgrounds. Our hope is that you will take with you tools and insights for how you, in whatever type of work you do, can engage more people, whether they are friends, family, or decision makers, on the issues of water through stories that capture their attention and imagination. While we look forward to hosting the symposium in person again, one of the opportunities opened up by a virtual event is today's geographically dispersed lineup, with speakers joining us from across the country. We are also exploring different formats in the virtual space. I hope you joined in one of the two virtual tours focused on Denver Zoo's remarkable approach to water conservation and recycling, and Denver Water's holistic watershed management work. We also have Zoom breakout sessions for you to connect with one another. We will focus on tools and techniques of storytelling, starting with our keynote speaker, Gary Nell, from National Geographic Partners, and continuing with a panel of different perspectives on storytelling and social movements. We will also connect with Western decision makers, including the Governor of Colorado, and discuss the impacts of the recent election, particularly with respect to water and natural resources, with David Axelrod, political consultant and CNN commentator. He will also discuss how we can engage with our decision makers on the issues that we care about. You'll see that the symposium is a mix of recorded and live content. For the recorded panels, we still ask that you send us your questions for the speakers via the Zoom Q&A. While they can't see them and respond in real time, we are capturing those questions, we'll ask our speakers to answer them, and we'll post them on the symposium website. Lastly, please note the CSU Water in the West hashtag. Please use this for any social media posts about today's event. If you have any technical challenges or have questions, please feel free to email waterinthewest@colostate.edu. Before we dive in, a thank you to our sponsors who have helped make this possible. Our presenting sponsors are Colorado Dairy Farmers, CoBank, and Leprino Foods. Our premier sponsors are Swire Coca-Cola, Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck, and the Mighty Arrow Family Foundation. Additional sponsors are listed here. Thank you to all of them for their support. We will begin this event with CSU's Land Acknowledgement, provided by Ty Smith. Ty was born and raised on the Navajo Nation. He has a degree in engineering and an MBA from CSU. He was a practicing engineer in the energy industry prior to joining CSU in 2005. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ty Smith, Director of the CSU Native American Cultural Center.
I'm Ty Smith, Director of the Native American Cultural Center at Colorado State University. I'd like to share the CSU Land Acknowledgement. But before I share the Land Acknowledgement, it is important to emphasize the relationship between land and people. Native people recognize that everything has a spirit: plants, animals, insects, mountains, and water, which brings us together today. Tuo e ina, which in my language means water is life. Native American identity is deeply tied to these, and they are referenced and respected in our culture, creation stories, healing ceremonies, and celebrations. Please keep this in mind as you hear the Land Acknowledgement. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion. And significantly, the founding of institutions such as ours came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land they are on today. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment.
Thank you, Ty, for your continued service and leadership. As we begin this year's Water in the West Symposium, this year held virtually due to the global pandemic, I want to emphasize that this conversation is more important than ever. We've seen critical links that exist between animal and human health, and they've unfolded this year in ways that have impacted everyone on the planet. We've also seen devastating wildfires, exacerbated by drought and high temperatures, impacting the health of humans and our critical ecosystems. We've seen disruptions in how we grow and access food. The CSU Spur campus sits at the nexus of food, water, animal and human health, and the environment. 2020 has shown us time and again the importance of these issues and the importance of understanding and educating about how the solutions to these interconnected problems must break down silos, must connect disciplines and sectors, and must respect the interdependence of people and our natural environment. For these reasons, the stories shared and the conversations sparked at Water in the West are even more important today than they were a year ago when we convened in person. One of the core principles of the Spur campus, which we're bringing out of the ground as we speak, is the importance of connection. So today we continue the work of the Water in the West Symposia, connecting across disciplines, across sectors, across the country, to learn how we can all be more effective in our work to elevate water challenges in the local and national consciousness, to make water a kitchen table conversation topic, to leverage the collective brain power and problem solving of people who aren't even thinking about water today. We need these people, and this year's symposium will help you bring them to the table. We also know that this is a time of change and transition. The impacts of the recent local and national elections are only beginning to be understood. As part of our discussions this year, we seek to better understand and inform about those impacts, particularly around water and natural resources. CSU has recently launched a project we called Your Voice, Your Vote, Your Rights, to inform our CSU communities about the importance of civic engagement and civil discourse. In that spirit, I encourage attendees to continue to engage in dialogue, regardless of their particular interest or position, as a means to address the water challenges in your own lives, while also better understanding the challenges that face others. Also in that spirit of collaboration, I'd like to introduce now one of CSU's key partners in the Spur campus, particularly in our hydro building. Jim Lochhead is the CEO and manager of Denver Water. Jim's vision has helped make the hydro building more than just CSU and Denver Water occupying the same building. It's helped open up opportunities for collaboration that we know will continue to grow over time. Jim, thank you for your partnership, and over to you.
Thank you, Chancellor Frank. It's been a pleasure working with you and your team on this extraordinary project. Over the last several years, Denver Water and CSU have been working together to bring the hydro building to life. With the hydro building breaking ground in October, we took one more step toward this unique collaborative space becoming a reality. Building our new water quality lab in the hydro building will help Denver Water continue to deliver a safe, reliable water supply to the Denver metro area. Clearly, that benefits our entire state. But planning for the water demands of tomorrow requires innovation and an understanding of how customer needs and politics surrounding water in our state are changing. This includes not just urban water solutions, but ways to improve agricultural production and watershed health. The new Spur campus will help Denver Water explore and implement leading solutions to water challenges for our customers and the state. This project will also create additional opportunities for Denver Water to engage in research, innovation, policy, and education around water. This year's symposium will be another opportunity for diverse organizations from around the state to come together and discuss important topics in all of these areas. I'm looking forward to listening to many of those discussions. I know this year's symposium will build on past years and hope you enjoy the rest of the program. Now it's my pleasure to introduce another man who has played an instrumental role in moving this project forward, the Honorable Michael B. Hancock, the Mayor of Denver.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you all for taking part in the third annual Water in the West Symposium. As Mayor, it's my pleasure to welcome everyone, albeit virtually, to Denver. First off, I want to congratulate CSU on the recent groundbreaking of the third and final building of the Spur campus at the National Western Center. When it's complete, the campus and the National Western Center as a whole will be an international leader for the innovation around agriculture, food systems, water, and so much more. I couldn't be prouder that this campus is calling Denver home thanks to the partnership between the city, the National Western Stock Show, and Colorado State University. And it's partnerships like this that will keep Denver at the forefront of some of the most critical issues of our times. Issues that not only affect our lives here in Denver, but the lives of people across the world. Climate change impacts our communities every day. Addressing it is one of the most crucial challenges of our time. And it will take all levels of government in all nations to make a concerted effort in reversing its impacts. We see it in a more severe and prolonged droughts and dwindling water supplies that affect rural and urban communities alike. We see it when 3 of the 4 largest wildfires in Colorado history occurred just this year. We see it in increasing emissions, leading to higher rates of asthma in underserved communities and increased health care costs. Denver voters have shown that they are willing to do their part and will have the opportunity to take aggressive steps to tackle climate change here at the local level. Denver is also leading the way by creating the Climate Action, Sustainability, and Resiliency Office. The funding recently approved on Election Day will support the work this office is doing, and it will do something that is a first in the nation. Half of the funds that will be raised will be used for low-income communities and communities of color. When people join together to address a challenge, when we believe in science and accept reality, progress can and will be made. That's the impact of the social movements to affect change. And part of that is the power of storytelling, to express people's experiences in a way that get people to listen, not divide us. So whether it's the water that feeds the crops that feeds us, or the natural resources that sustain our society, we must be good stewards of those resources. Our future depends on it. Thankfully, the National Western Center and the Spur campus will be leading the way because we don't just talk. We use our values to drive action. Thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the symposium.